Have you ever heard the story of a man who touched the sky only to fall back to earth and then, somehow, learn to fly again? This isn't just any story. It's the tale of Darren, a name that once echoed in the grand halls of England's elite and the quiet, desperate alleys of its forgotten. It's a story about wealth, loss, and the kind of riches that can't be counted. Our story begins in 1845. Picture a young man, just 24 years old, named Darren. He wasn't born into nobility or immense fortune. He was, by all accounts, a simple man, but one with a fire in his eyes. Standing about 5'8", with tidy brown hair and warm brown eyes, he always presented himself impeccably. His suits were always smartly pressed, a reflection of his inner belief that he was destined for more than his humble start. Darren didn't just dream of success, he breathed it. While others saw the world as it was, he saw it for what it could be, and he was determined to carve his own place in it. One crisp morning, an idea sparked in Darren's mind. It wasn't a sudden bolt of lightning, but a slow-burning realization, a culmination of his observations and ambitions. He saw an opportunity where others saw none, a gap in the market that his unique perspective could fill. With unwavering determination, he decided this was his moment. He would chase a fortune, not just for the sake of being rich, but to prove that a simple man with a grand vision could indeed change his stars. He poured every ounce of his energy, every waking moment, into this new venture. He was relentless, working from dawn until long after the gas lamps flickered on in the London streets. The next 6 years were a whirlwind. Darren's idea, once just a flicker, had become a raging inferno. His business acumen, coupled with his tireless work ethic, turned his venture into a monumental success. Money began to flow in, first as a trickle, then a stream, and finally a roaring river. He made shrewd investments, took calculated risks, and his reputation grew exponentially. By the time he was 30, Darren was no longer just a simple man with dreams. He was one of the richest men in all of England. His name was whispered with a mix of awe and envy. He owned sprawling estates, his carriages were the finest, and he dined with lords and ladies who once wouldn't have given him a second glance. He had everything he had ever dreamed of, and more. He was on top of the world, invincible. But as the old saying goes, the higher you climb, the harder you fall. Darren, swept up in the intoxicating world of high society, became complacent. He started to believe his own legend, thinking his golden touch was infallible. He made riskier baits, fueled by arrogance rather than the careful calculation that had built his empire. He trusted the wrong people, charmed by their flattery and blind to their deceit, and then the market turned. A series of unfortunate events, combined with his own hubris, created a perfect storm. His investments crumbled, his ventures failed, and his creditors came knocking. In what felt like the blink of an eye, the man who had everything was left with nothing. The estates were seized, the carriages sold, the friends vanished. Darren, the titan of industry, found himself penniless, with only the clothes on his back, walking the same cold streets he had once sought to conquer. He was homeless. The fall was brutal. The physical hardship of being on the streets was immense. The hunger, the cold, the constant vulnerability. But the psychological toll was far worse. He was haunted by the ghosts of his past glory. Every passing carriage, every well-dressed gentleman was a painful reminder of what he had lost. Despair became his constant companion. He was no longer Darren the millionaire. He was just another forgotten face in the crowd, invisible. He spent months, maybe even a full year, in this haze of misery, feeling utterly defeated. The fire in his eyes had been extinguished, replaced by a vacant, hollow look. He had lost his fortune, his status, and worst of all, he had lost himself. But even in the deepest darkness, a single spark can ignite a flame. One day, shivering in a damp alleyway, Darren saw a young boy sharing his meager piece of bread with a stray dog. It was a small act, almost insignificant, but it struck a chord deep within him. It was an act of pure, unselfish kindness, something he hadn't seen or felt in a very long time. In that moment, something shifted. He realized that his relentless pursuit of wealth had been entirely selfish. He wanted to be rich for the status, the power, the things he could own. He had never once thought about what good he could do with it. This small boy, with nothing to his name, possessed a richness of spirit that Darren, even at his wealthiest, had never known. That was the turning point. A new kind of fire was lit within Darren, not the fire of ambition, but the fire of purpose. He wasn't just going to get his fortune back. He was going to do it differently this time. He started small. He used his sharp mind not to outsmart competitors, but to find ways to help people. He offered his business advice to small shopkeepers in exchange for a meal or a warm place to sleep. He organized other homeless men, using his leadership skills to create a small workforce for odd jobs, ensuring they all got a fair share. Slowly, he started to rebuild. It wasn't about lavish deals anymore. It was about creating real value, building trust, and fostering community. His reputation began to grow again, but this time, it was built on a foundation of integrity and compassion. Years passed, and through this new, more meaningful path, Darren did indeed become a wealthy man again. But he was a completely changed person. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a quiet humility. He lived comfortably, but not extravagantly. His grandest investments were not in stocks or properties, but in people. He built shelters for the homeless, funded schools for the poor, and created programs to give others the second chance he had given himself. He understood now that true wealth wasn't about what you have, but about what you give. His name once again echoed in the halls of England, but this time it was spoken not with envy, but with profound respect and admiration. He became a legend, not as a man who conquered the world of finance, but as the underdog who lost everything only to find something infinitely more valuable. Darren's story is a powerful reminder that our greatest failures can become our greatest teachers. It shows us that true wealth is measured in kindness, purpose, and the positive impact we have on the lives of others. He learned the hard way that a life built on ego is as fragile as a house of cards. But a life built on service and humility has a foundation of solid rock. So, next time you face a setback, remember Darren. Remember that even from the lowest point, you have the power to rise again, not just to where you were before, but to a place far greater. Thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. If this story moved you, please give this video a like and subscribe for more tales of resilience and the human spirit. Until next time, stay inspired,